If you don't like tough tacos or fajitas but still love beef, then listen up. Hey there, meat lovers! Ever wonder which beef cuts make the ultimate tacos and fajitas? We've got you covered with these top picks. First up, chuck steak. Perfect for that juicy, fall-apart shredded beef taco. Just slow cook it for hours, or use a pressure cooker if you're in a hurry. Next, our favorite here in California, the famous tri-tip steak. This marbled marvel is fantastic sliced or slow-cooked into tender barbacoa or sliced nicely for that perfect fajita strip of tender steak. Always slice against the grain for maximum flavor. In barbacoa, the meat is often seasoned with a blend of spices and herbs, such as cumin, cloves, and garlic, and then slow-cooked until it becomes tender and flavorful. Another favorite is birria. The meat is marinated in a rich, spicy sauce made from dried chilies and other seasonings, giving it a distinct and bold flavor. Our famous sauce. Wine Country's finest marinade and cooking sauce is an excellent choice. We recommend the mild or spicy. Flat iron steak is another winner. Grill it whole, slice it up, and enjoy a tender, tasty taco without the mess. And don't forget skirt steak. It's the classic carne asada meat. Marinate it for a bit, grill it, and chop it up. Short on time? Short ribs in the slow cooker are a game changer. Cook them low and slow for those melt-in-your-mouth shredded beef tacos. So, there you have it. The top beef cuts for taco or fajita perfection. Ready to elevate your Taco Tuesday? Let's get cooking! Wine Country's finest marinade is going to cover this in way more detail. Stay tuned, and please subscribe to our channel, WCF Marinades Shares Daily. The boss of the sauce, located on the Central Coast in lovely Wine Country, known as Paso Robles, California. Now our marinades are in wine bottles to serve you better, and they also last longer. Just like a fine wine, it only gets better with time. These bottles are recorkable, fitted with T-top bar corks that require no corkscrew and reseal nicely, providing 6 to 8 barbecues or cooking adventures right out of the bottle. They never require any refrigeration. We have mastered the uptown look and feel plus longevity, from generations of perfections passed into the heart of these wine bottles that truly last forever. Unlike any other marinade or cooking sauce combined, we have a unique and unsurpassed special sauce to share from our once little town, Paso Robles. Once a small country town, not that long ago, if you asked the locals about wine, they would have probably ran you out of town. Times change, and we have evolved along with the changes from mason jars on the ranches to wine bottles downtown. We have an old-fashioned brewed sauce of 3 flavors still brewed to perfection today, and trust us when we say we know of the old traditions and we love to share. Okay folks, let's cover all the bases. The best cuts of beefsteak to use when making tacos and fajitas. Taco Tuesday. It's practically become a national holiday, with Mexican restaurants all over the U.S. offering deals on the second night of the week. While there are many different types of tacos out there, one of our favorites is beef tacos. We also love chicken and fish tacos as well. But there's just something about the luscious red meat that gets us excited every time we think about it. What cut of beef will make the best taco? You can put all the toppings you want on it, from the perfect queso fresco to a nice homemade guacamole. But if you don't have the right cut cooked to perfection, it doesn't matter what else is in that corn tortilla. It just won't be as good. So we asked a few butchers and chefs what their go-to cuts are for the perfect beef taco, and they were nice enough to give us several tips along with the knowledge we already have discovered over many years of cooking. Chuck is the cheapest, and if well soaked and slow cooked with our cooking sauce and marinade, it's a game changer, making the meat moist and tender. Local butchery and our good old boys on the ranch tells us there are 3 styles of beef tacos: shredded beef, chopped or sliced, and ground. Chuck is great for the shredded beef taco because it's best when it's cooked low and slow. Known for its beefy flavor, this cut is part of the cow's shoulder region and is one of the most common cuts out there. In fact, not only will your butcher carry it, it will definitely be in the meat department of your favorite grocery store. While you could cover the whole shoulder in spices and drop it into your preferred stock in the slow cooker, we recommend cutting it into 2-inch cubes and searing all sides before braising on low heat for 4 to 5 hours. But if you don't have that kind of time, a pressure cooker will work just as well, and you won't lose any of that wonderful flavor this cut is known for. Tri-tip steak. Another popular cut of steak, tri-tip can be found at most meat shops. This cut has a lot of marbling, which gives the meat that full, beefy flavor it's known for and why it's such a great choice. This steak falls into the sliced category mentioned because of all the fat weaving through it. Never carve the tri-tip steak with the grain. Instead, slice it against the grain for some seriously tasty tacos. Slicing this steak is one option for a delicious taco, but it's not the only option. While you could grill or sear it and then slice, you could just slow cook it as well. Flat iron steak. Another cut from the shoulder region of the cow, the flat iron steak is considered to be one of the most tender cuts available. It's only second to the filet mignon. But because of its location and the fact that it's a newer cut, it's not nearly as expensive as the filet. But a pricier piece of meat doesn't always mean it's the best choice. In fact, this cheaper cut has tons of flavor thanks to the decent amount of marbling found within it. But even with all that marbling, it's still one of the leaner cuts out there. It also happens to be one of our top choices for tacos, where the meat is sliced or chopped. This one is kind of a more baller taco move. Even though you can cook this steak in a variety of ways, the boys tell us that grilling it whole is the best way to prepare it for tacos. Flat iron is the second most tender on the animal, so you can grill it whole, then slice it without any difficulty later when it's time to eat. What I mean is, you can easily bite through the slices without half the contents of the taco sliding out with each bite. Skirt steak. There are two kinds of skirt steak, the inside and outside skirt. A thinner cut from the cow's plate section, the skirt steak tends to be a fattier cut of beef. As we've said time and time again, fat equals flavor, which means either of these cuts would be a great way to fill your tortillas. But we're not the only ones who think so. This is the classic carne asada style taco meat for good reason. It's very easy, quick, and flavorful. You don't have to marinate it first, but I would recommend that. Marinating the steak not only adds flavor to the meat, it tenderizes it as well because the acid usually included in marinades breaks down the steak's fibers. But as with all marinades, you want to be careful how long you let it soak. Since skirt steak is a significantly thinner cut than a ribeye or New York strip, you don't want to marinate it for any longer than 45 minutes, or the meat will lose its structure and become mushy with some acidic marinades. It's for that reason that as soon as the meat comes out of the marinade, start grilling or cooking it. The griddle works great for this kind of meat. Then chop it to bits. We recommend Wine Country's Finest Marinades, or WCF marinades of 3 different flavors for a mild, medium, or spicy flavor that is not acidic, so meat and seafoods can be marinated overnight or just poured on as you grill your meats or surf and turf. Use a slow cooker, large griddle, or even the oven for cooking large quantities of meats, chicken, beef, pork, and seafood, to make enough tacos for a large crowd. Cook all the meat at once to save time and effort. All of these methods can be used in multiple applications to speed the process. Slow cookers. Set it and forget it. Slow cookers are a crowd's best friend. Nearly everyone has one. If you don't, then one of your neighbors or friends probably has one lying around. The beauty of using a slow cooker is that they are the ultimate cooking method for having juicy, tender meat that is perfect for tacos. The griddle. Ultimate scalability and versatility. In this category, you have a few options. At the bottom of the totem pole, we have an electric pancake griddle, and we move up to stovetop griddles, and even commercial trailer-mounted griddles capable of feeding hundreds to even thousands of people. Family fried tacos. courtesy of wine country's finest marinades. We have something special to share here today. This is a very specific type of taco, a taco which is filled first and then fried, resulting in a perfectly crisp taco shell and a filling that is almost roasted around the edges. The filled before frying taco turns out to be a craving because they are so simple good. Savory, delicate, and somehow ephemeral in that before you can blink, they will all be gone. How to fry tacos. With the raw meat placed inside over half the shell only, do not cover the full shell. Preparing your taco meat and then placing it on half of the flat taco shell is the answer to quick and easy tacos. You need to mix your seasonings into the ground meat, and then if you also marinating, get the meat out after soaking and place meat into a strainer. Drain off any excess sauces and then pat meat dry with towels to absorb and remove excess liquid before you place the raw meat onto the taco shells before cooking. Dry seasoning, herbs like basil and oregano work well, and they take less prep time. Lemon pepper is also one of my favorites to mix into the meat. Dry seasoning and marinating are both optional. For best results, utilize one or the other or both. Keep in mind, to make homemade fried or floated oil tacos that resemble a normal shell, first fill the flat shell with raw meat on one side, about half of the shell only. Get your oil boiling in a cast iron pan and place one taco in at a time, once the oil heats the shell and the meat for a while. Start the bending of that flat taco shell over the meat as it cooks. The flat floating shell should be folded and held in place over the meat side of the taco. Now the meat should be inside and the taco should be formed while it also remains floating in the oil to make a regular looking taco. Like a tostada starting out in the oil, open face, meat side up. Now start to bend the side of the shell without meat over the top, forming a taco as it floats. Continue to cook the tacos. Hold the shell in place for a few seconds to keep that fold and meat inside. If the shell breaks, you did not let it float in the oil long enough while in the open position, just try again. This can take some practice, but it's well worth the efforts once mastered. Now add the second taco shell with more raw meat. You should have all your tacos laid out with the raw meat on a pan or cutting board. Repeat this process over and over until all the tacos are cooked. Don't forget to flip over about 1 minute per side. You should be able to cook 2 or 3 taco shells at a time once they are folded into place in the hot oil or iron pan. Continue to cook on each side for about 2 minutes or until the ground beef looks dark. Then remove them by tossing them into a bowl with paper towels. The meat needs to be ground for this to work, so hamburger is the best. Add sausage into the mix for breakfast. Tacos. Ground steak works. You just want it to be bound together, kind of like hamburger. Otherwise, the meat pieces can float out of the shell and into the oil while cooking. Practice makes perfect here, so just have some fun with this one night during some free time. Once you feel more comfortable, you can really bust these tacos out after the skill is perfected. It's very quick and easy, and the tacos last a lot longer made this way and can simply be reheated anytime while maintaining that freshness. Now you can have tacos with meat that will last for days. Just add the topping whenever. It's a family favorite taught to us by some longtime friends that we consider family. Always remove the tacos from the oil and drain on a paper towel. In a large bowl works well. The meat will not fall out. It binds to the shell, so stack away. Cook tacos about 2 minutes per side in the hot oil while floating. Once the shells are closed and done, and the meat turns dark, then they should be ready and done. Now just grab those tacos with metal tongs straight out of the oil, then simply stack them in a bowl full of paper towels to let the tacos drain and rest for 10 to 15 minutes. This lets them cool. Try not to eat right away to avoid possible burns. Later on, after the shells and meat cool for a while, you can. Add shredded lettuce, onions, tomatoes, and top with cheese. Sometimes, if the shells are really stiff, I will put my toppings on like a tostada, and just enjoy a little fun, messy delight. If the tacos are cold in the bowl, just toss 1 or 2 in the air fryer for a sec, then add your topping. You're set. This works great and is quick and easy once mastered, and the tacos can be heated anytime without toppings, so you can have 1 or 2 over a few days, unlike regular tacos, all assembled at once. Tacos are not really good the next day when made traditionally. This is a taco hack and paired with WCF marinades. It's a true game changer in the taco world. Can I make fried tacos with flour tortillas? Yes! For the flour tortillas, I used smaller 8-inch tortillas and spooned the beef mixture over 1/2 the tortilla. Then you folded the tortilla in half and added a small amount of oil to my already hot cast iron skillet, frying each until browned on both sides. These shells do not break as easy on the fold, but they can overcook quicker, so don't add a lot of meat. Keep it thin since you have more are on the half shell, so to speak. Let's get back to the best cuts of meat for tacos and fajitas. Flank steak. My current favorite cut of beef to work with is flank steak. It also happens to be one of the standard steaks used if you're making carne asada. A more accessible cut of beef, this universal steak comes from the flank of the cow and can be enjoyed all on its own or turned into fajitas. I prefer this cut because of its fantastic marbling, flavor, and price. But it's really the size and shape of this steak that make it the ideal choice for steak tacos. Being a thin, yet long and wide cut, always yields a fantastic sear all over the entire cut. Top sirloin. This cut is known for its rich flavor and infinite tenderness, which is why it's one of the more popular cuts out there. But unlike several other cuts, which are rich and intensely tender, the top sirloin happens to be one of the leaner meats available. That's right, there's not a lot of fat hidden inside this cut, but the lack of fat doesn't equal a lack of flavor. These are just a few of the reasons why folks love these steaks so much. It perfectly juices up with the charcoal grill. The top sirloin itself is soft, juicy, and does not dry up when it's cooked. The steak doesn't need anything else except a light seasoning or a marinade pour. When it's grilled to a perfect 135 degrees, you have one hell of a tasty taco. The most popular cuts of steak. Ranked worst to best. Analyzing the meat section of your local grocer or the shelves at your nearby butcher shop can be confusing. Steak comes in a wide variety of different cuts, tenderness, flavors, required cooking methods, and price points. Also, the price of red meat has grown considerably over the past couple years because of imbalances in supply and demand. Nowadays, you may be paying more for your next cut of steak, which is why you need to know what you're looking for. Steak can be an easily accessible option or more special once-in-a-while treat. There are steaks that are fit for one of those occasions and some that fit both. The important thing is, you end up getting a quality steak that is the best bang for your buck. This ranking will help you determine the best cut of steak for you, your purpose, and your wallet. Round steak is taken from the upper rear of the cow. Round steaks can be sold as a top round cut, bottom round cut, or an eye of the round cut. Round steaks tend to have the least fat marbling, making them very tough and less flavorful than steaks coming from other parts of the cow. Because this cut is 100% muscle, round steaks cannot be cooked quickly with high heat like their fattier counterparts. Instead, they must be cooked on a very low heat setting for an extended amount of time. Plus, most round steak recipes call for the addition of other moisture. While it is true any steak seasoned and cooked properly will yield a tasty result, these characteristics make round steaks not fit for the grill at your next barbecue, a stovetop skillet, or even a reverse sear roast in the oven. Subsequently, round steaks are also not a convenient option for a quick and easy weeknight dinner. Cooking round steaks well takes a lot of time and a more intensive effort. Furthermore, any flavor of round steaks comes from foreign elements like seasonings or braising liquids, which makes them a poor choice when craving the hearty, meaty taste that most other cuts of steak can provide. While round steaks cost far less than more flavorful, less involved steak options, the monetary advantage does not supersede its many shortcomings. Flank steaks are another muscly, cost-efficient cut, but their versatility does help to balance out their toughness. Flank steaks come from the flank of the cow, which sits below the tenderloin and sirloin along the underbelly. Because of this location on the abdomen, flank steaks are tougher because of their exercise whenever the steer walks or turns its body. The intensive work of the muscle can actually be seen on a cut of flank steak. Its long, thick muscle fibers and low fat content are a sign of its constant use. Although this cut sits in an area of the steer surrounded by fat, the flank itself remains very lean. Flank steak's toughness can be minimized depending on how it is cooked, but slower braises will not break down the muscle fibers of the steak well enough, which will keep the cut chewy. Cooking a flank steak fast on high heat will help break down the fibers better by retaining more moisture. Slicing the flank steak thin across the grain will also help break down these muscle fibers and yield a more tender, juicy, flavorful final product. Flank steak also takes very well to marinades. The longer the marinade, the better the steak. Like round steaks, however, the flank steak requires a lot of additional components to meet its full potential. Flank steak can be a delicious, less expensive option, but the quality does not come with the steak alone. It comes with your own effort. The tri-tip comes from the tri-tip roast, which is cut from the bottom, leaner portion of the sirloin per taste of home. This triangular-shaped cut is at its best when over high heat and to an internal temperature below medium. Although the bottom sirloin is generally tough and muscly, the tri-tip comes from the part of the bottom sirloin that usually includes specks of fat and marbling. The fat content is not high, however, so seasoning and cooking method is key. Tri-tips can be grilled, seared in a pan on the stovetop, oven roasted, or even broiled. Grilling is your best option, however, as the higher heat capability combined with the smokiness helps add another layer of flavor that makes up for this cut's lack of fat. Tri-tips are normally available as whole cuts or sliced and packaged into individual portions. Either way, the tri-tip is an inexpensive steak option that will satisfy your meat craving if prepared and cooked properly. More flavorful cuts within the same price range do, however, remain smarter, more delicious choices. T-bone steak may be the most overrated cut there is. According to Omaha Steaks, T-bone steaks are cut as a cross-section of the short loin and therefore contain part of the tenderloin, or filet mignon, as well as the short loin, or New York strip, each of which is separated and held together by the same bone. There is, however, a common misunderstanding regarding the amount and the quality that exists in a T-bone cut. Many mistakenly believe porterhouses and T-bones are interchangeable, but this is not the case, as Steak Revolution explains, and it's certain porterhouses would take offense to that widely held belief. There are between 6 and 7 T-bone cuts available from one cow, and only 2 or 3 porterhouses, via Omaha Steaks. Plus, many T-bone steaks are cut where the New York strip collides with the top sirloin, resulting in an inedible piece of sinew. While the New York strip is a delicious and low-maintenance cut of steak, the idea that the T-bone grants you 2 cuts in one is not exactly the case. When you pick out a T-bone, you end up paying more for less. Skirt steak and flank steak are very similar, but skirt steak does come out on top for a variety of reasons. According to The Kitchen, skirt steak also comes from the abdomen of the cow, but skirt steak actually comes from the diaphragm, which makes it another hyperactive, tougher cut. Skirt steak does have a more beefy flavor than flank steak, but it does have more muscle fiber. So high heat, quick cooking methods are also the best for optimal tenderness. Skirt steak is also perfect for long marinades and should be sliced as thinly as possible across the grain. Skirt steak usually has a higher fat content, which is what sets skirt steak above flank, according to Cooking Light. This extra fat helps balance out the stronger muscle fibers, and a proper rendering of that fat contributes to the more meaty flavor. If you've ever had Mexican fajitas, you've probably had skirt steak, so you know how delicious it could be. Flat iron steak is another great vehicle for marinades as well as serving larger groups of people. Plus, their higher fat content and evenly distributed marbling make for a juicier, more flavorful steak that can be cooked to a more widely enjoyed doneness without the sacrifice of tenderness or taste. The tenderness and flavor found in a flat iron steak is in part due to the cut coming from the shoulder of the steer, also commonly referred to as the chuck, according to the Spruce Eats. As opposed to the abdominal region flank and skirt steaks are cut from, the chuck is a more relaxed area of the cow which correlates to a more tender bite. Additionally, flat iron steaks are cut from a more fatty part of the chuck, known as the top blade roast. The tough connective tissue that runs through the top blade roast separates the top blade and the flat iron. Once it is removed, the flat iron is freed from the toughness. Flat iron steaks are available in rectangular shapes similar to flank steaks, but their thickness is uniform. This makes for a more even cooking best suited for the backyard grill. While flat iron steaks contain more fat, flavor, and better texture, their cost reflects such. While a flat iron steak is nowhere close to the most expensive there is, it will cost more than comparable cuts like its predecessor on this list. Top sirloin. Even without the cap, however, top sirloin is far more tender than cuts lower on our list, and will yield a soft, juicy product if cooked to a temperature of medium rare to rare. Sirloin steak is another great individually portioned cut well suited for simple, high-heat cooking methods. Filet mignon. The fat marbling of filet mignon cuts is so evenly dispersed and unfettered by constant exercise, the only needed preparation to indulge in its richness is to season with salt and cook. That's it. Hearing the words filet mignon immediately communicates luxury, and the beautiful simplicity of this cut of steak is the reason why. Porterhouses are high in price, but their quality and size make up for their monetary sacrifice. One porterhouse steak can weigh up to 2 pounds, easily fit to fulfill 2 servings. Like the filet mignon sitting on one side of the bone, porterhouses are fit for simple seasonings and quick, high-heat cooking, but the result will be a combination of lean tenderness and rich, dense flavor. The porterhouse is the best of both worlds. No wonder it's known as the king of the steakhouse. Ribeye. Of all the many options that lay before you at the butcher or the supermarket, there is no cut that provides more value to your dollar than the ribeye. While cuts of ribeye are priced higher than most other individually packaged steaks, ribeyes are actually less expensive than their 2 predecessors on this list. Plus, their flavor and simplicity make it far worth your while. Ribeyes are cut directly from the rib cage of the cow. The copious amounts of fat on the rib cage provide a depth of flavor completely unparalleled by any other cut of steak. Not only is the ribeye surrounded by flavorful fat, it's marbled by it end to end. This fat melts down and opens up the fibers of the ribeye, allowing it to absorb all of the flavor brought to life by your ripping hot stovetop skillet. Ribeyes can be available on the bone, tomahawk, or boneless. Either way, there is no lack of decadence. When the opportunity presents itself, the decision to take advantage should most definitely be considered. The experience of eating that steak will cause you to forget the extra dollars spent doing so. Just like with WCF Marinade, it's the best, but cost a bit more, unsurpassed for generations. And now in beautiful wine bottles, Wine Country's finest marinades is here to serve you one of the best steak marinades and cooking sauces combined. We are also here to share our knowledge, so please like and subscribe to our channel for more tricks and tips. Coupons are always available on our website at WCF Marinades, so grab those discounts. 4th of July. Apply this current coupon code at checkout. Save $8 off any order. Select flavor, mild, medium, or spicy in the drop-down box. First hit, add to cart. Now you can apply any coupons. The best to you and yours, and happy 4th of July. Be safe and keep those grills sizzling.